This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's roll.
All right. Listen, Ken, in our research, we found out that in high school, you excelled in both football and wrestling. As a senior, you qualified for the state championships in wrestling, but you broke your neck in practice days before competition and underwent neck surgery. So you had a broken freaking neck too? What happened? How did that affect you down the road?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's one of those things where if you know my story, I came from the streets. I was living out of a car, gotten stabbed, ended up in group home at 10 years old, in and out of homes, ended up the Shamrock boys home at 13. And I was a kid that was going nowhere. I mean, literally, I was a bad kid. Nobody wanted to be around me because I was bad. I was trouble. And he took all of that anger and frustration that I had towards life, and he helped me put it into something positive, which was football and wrestling. I played basketball. I played everything. I excelled at everything. But the two things that I focused on, which was during school time, was wrestling and football. And I excelled at it. And because I excelled at it, all of a sudden I became relevant. Teachers wanted me to make sure I got good grades. Coaches always watching over me in class, making sure that the teachers are making sure that I'm getting my work done. And I had Bob Shamrock, who was standing in as my father and pushing me in the directions that I needed to go. And all of a sudden, you know, my senior year comes around, I got scholarships. I mean, I've got scholarships for wrestling. I got scholarships for football. You know, I mean, I was relevant. And before that, I was this punk kid living in a group home. Now I was popular within this small community town in Susanville. And I had done well in football. Wrestling comes around. I do well. I beat a Nevada state champ, 2 Nevada state champions, one, and the weight classes were different in Nevada than in California. And so there was 2 different divisions. I wrestled one where we had the Rotary tournament, which was one for all of Northern California and Northern Nevada. And I won that one. The guy I beat was a 185 pounder. And I believe it was in Nevada, it was 175 or something like that was the weight below. And then above it was 195. So we split it up into the California weight class, which was 185. And so I ended up winning that tournament, and I only weighed 170 pounds. That's the one thing. I was so strong.
You were underweight. Yeah.
I was way under, but I was so fast. I benched 320 pounds. So I was very strong. And so for me to be smaller, quicker, and then stronger than most guys there were at 185, I would outlast them. I was much faster than them. I was able to get takedowns and get them off balance. And I excelled there very, very, very well. Ended up being a guy at, I believe it was 175 is Lamont McCann out of Douglas in Nevada. I beat him at the Reno tournament down there. And so there was 2 guys that had won state championships, like 3, I believe the heavier one won 4 years in a row. He won his freshman year, his sophomore year, junior year, and he also won it his senior year. After I beat him, I was his only loss. And then of course, the Douglas guy, I ended up beating him. And he won state championships on his sophomore, junior, and senior year, and his only loss was me.
3-timer, yeah.
So I'm telling you this because I'm building you this story from a kid that came from the street that had nowhere to go, in and out of group homes, found Shamrock Boys Home, found relevancy in life towards who I was, why I would get good grades. It was all sports. So here I was excelling in wrestling. I excelled in football. I go into practice, and, you know, of course, Kurt, you know this, when you qualify, you don't have a team practice. I was the only one qualified. So they would bring guys in and help me work. And normally freshmen would come in, push the mats together, tape them, clean them, and you prepare for your session. But we didn't have freshmen. We didn't have anybody there. So people were coming in and working. So we just slid the mats together, and we didn't clean them.
Didn't tape them either.
Nothing. And so I go in, we're messing around. And of course, I'm horsing around. I was never really all serious at practice. I worked hard, but I also played kind of a lot. And I remember the coach, Mike Paul was the coach at the time, told me that if I didn't start getting serious, that he would just stop practice and I'd start running walls, which is a conditioning drill. And I hated conditioning. And so I went to go ahead and take the kid down. I picked him up, and this kid was about 200 pounds. And I picked him up, and as I went to pick him up, my foot slipped, and I fell into a sitting position, but he was on top of me as I picked him up. And as I fell, he fell on top of me. It pushed my chin down to my sternum, And then, of course, as you know, it stretched. And then when it came down, it went bam and smashed the cartilage. And it literally was just, when I saw the x-rays, literally just hanging on. Because they came in, I couldn't move. I was laying on the mat. They came in with this Star Wars board where they slide it under you, then they put a board on top of you, then they picked you up, they put you in the ambulance. I drove 2.5 hours away to Redding, California, where they had a specialist doctor there. And then they did the x-rays. And then I was told that, you know, I had a broken neck, and that after, I think it was there, a couple of days, basically telling me I was never going to play contact sports again. And, you know, that story, you know, everything I was about was sports. That's how I became relevant. I found out what I could do in life. And now I was being told, after doing everything right, putting myself in the right positions, getting good grades, doing all those things I need to do. And now it's being taken away from me. And I remember my father said to me one time, he goes, and it was the only time that he ever had to say it to me, because after that, I lived my life like that. He looked at me while I was laying in bed. Remember, they had to turn these beds over in order for me to go to the bathroom or to watch TV. I was watching TV through mirrors. Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't moving. I mean, they literally had me like stable. So I remember looking, he says to me, he goes, because I was depressed when I was like, well, I don't know what am I going to do? Like, what's like, I'm nothing without sports. And he looked at me and he said, you know, he said, you can lay there and pout about this, or you can do something about it. And I remember thinking to myself, those are probably easy words, simple words. Some people might even get it. But to me, it was like, he's right. Like, this doctor doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know me or what I'm capable of.
What you can overcome. Yeah.
Like, how is this guy telling me? Like, he doesn't know me. And I literally, in my head was like, that's it, man. I am the only one that can take these circumstances and turn them into what I want them to be. Nobody's going to do this for me. Nobody can do this for me. And I lived my whole life like that, with those words and those things being said. Every single obstacle that I faced in life was those words. What are you going to do about it?
Wow, you took charge, man. That's awesome.
Mr. Shamrock, I read in your book that you attended the Olympic trials in '88. Yeah. Did you have any interest in pursuing that? What happened there?
Oh, man, that's a story. Yeah, that was a challenge, actually. It was. I didn't even prepare for it. Like, me and my buddy Lance Hill, and to this day, he still talks about one of the greatest experiences he's ever seen. And it's not cheapening wrestling at all. I was naturally gifted. I mean, I just did things and I could just do them. And I remember we were out partying because I bounced at bars. I was a bouncer. And so we spent a lot of time in the nighttime in Reno, actually where I live now. And I remember the trials was coming in. And Lance challenged me. He says, you should go do that, man. And because everybody knew who I was, like, in town. I gained a reputation very quickly. And he said, man, you should go do that. And I said, man, I don't know those guys. He said, man, you should go. We should just go. I said, okay, let's go. And I said, okay, let's see because Lance wrestled also. I go, let's see which one of us gets put out first. So we just walked down. The next morning, went in. The first guy was from Syracuse. I wrestled a guy from Syracuse, and I pinned him. Just literally because I never really did freestyle. All I did was collegiate, right? So I watched these guys, and I knew what it was. And how they would get
that is to transition from regular to freestyle.
Wow. So I took the guy down, and I just pinned him. Like, boom. I won my first 2 matches. The second one, I go in against Kozlowski. I forget it.
Kozlowski?
It's something like that, because this guy was the one that was picked to win it, right? So I go in there and I literally take him down twice. I kid you not, right? And of course, we know freestyle, that ain't nothing. With me, I'm thinking, yeah, up 2. So he gets on top. And that was the last thing I remember. Boom. Boom. Boom.
That's because you had no experience in parterre and freestyle. That's really hard.
15 points like that. I mean, and I was like, okay, so my 2 points to his 20 points after everything he just did to me in about 30 seconds.
You know what,
I was like, wow.
I would have taught you freestyle. That wouldn't have happened. So.
Yeah, because I didn't know to flatten. Like, you know how you get down and you get that tire waist and you get flat and you bounce. Well, I didn't know any of that thing. I thought I'd get up, hit a switch, do something like that. The minute I started to come up, I went.
He launched you.
And I was like, wow. I'm glad I don't have that on film, man, because that didn't look good for me.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.